So I've started recording now. Okay, folks? Folks, just to limit bandwidth, if you can turn off your cameras and your mics for now. And if you'd like to have a comment, there will be time comments. There will be time for comments later and time for questions later where you can unmic and turn your camera on, or you can leave a message in the chat. And it seems like it is transcribing for me as well into the chat. Oh, that's just the transcript. That's not the chat. Things I learned today. Welcome, everyone.
So if you have to follow my I just need to go to the agenda. I do insurance.
Sure. So the agenda's on a different.
Yeah, it's fine. You can
So
just say,
just toggle.
yep, oh, you're good. 7:01.
We'll just wait for Mrs. Hannon to join us and then get started, okay?
Let me get also Alex stuff and well, we should put first the what's the name? The laundry. Yeah, I'm listening, but they didn't start. There's some I'm on mute. We should put the liners first to dry before we go to bed.
Yep.
Or do we put other liners? Okay, so let me.
Good. Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Ibrahim Samhat. I am the chair of the London Attendance Area Review Committee. With me, I have Mrs. Rebecca Adams. She's the secretary for the committee. The committee is basically us two. The meeting today is to review the London Secondary Panel Attendance Area Review Meeting. This is an outcome of the online meeting that we all, or some of us have attended a few weeks back to review the proposed changes for the assigned area for high school students. More specifically, what it means to Oakridge Secondary School in terms of the zoning and the area. On the screen, there's the meeting agenda. So today we will be doing the introduction, which we just did. We will look at the overview of the attendance area review committee meeting and initial attendance review report. We will have a period of Q&A. We're looking for feedback regarding the options to be shared with the school committee as well as the London District School Board. And then we have additional information requirements and if there's any need for future school level meetings to be held. And then we will have the meeting adjourned. So to help me go through the options from the initial meeting that the school board have put together, Mr. Mike Phillips kindly is going to take us through the PowerPoint that was posted and shared with most of Mr. Mike. It can go through the.
Okay, just while I'm navigating to the PowerPoint, just to start, if you're at home, if you could put your greeting in the chat and say hi to everyone and just let us know. If you can type your name and say hi, maybe a little something about yourself really quick, like how you're connected to Oakridge. And if we can just go around the room and introduce ourselves really quick, that would be great. So I'm Mike Phillips. I'm the principal here at Oakridge Secondary School. This is my 5th year of being principal here. I use pronouns he and him, and I'm very proud to be the principal here at Oakridge. Becky, can we start with you and then go around the room?
Sure. My name is Rebecca Evans, and here for this committee, I have 2 girls, one grade 9, one grade 11, and I go right around the street in front and here. Thanks for going to come. Hello, my name is Rebecca Evans. I am here at the parent this evening. I currently have a daughter in grade 11 and another daughter in grade 11.
I'm Jim Foster. We have a son in grade 8, will be potentially coming to Oakridge next year. And we just wanted to have a clear understanding of whether we're in the right area and that sort of thing.
I'm Jen.
Thanks, Jennifer. At the back. I'm Corey in grade 75 and 3, or grade 7. Student here, Sophia, is hoping to come to Oakridge and just kind of find out what's the captains and this and just me. It's.
And I'm Catherine, his wife, his mother. All the same questions and concerns.
Thanks.
I'm Sophia, I'm grade 7.
Thanks for attending.
I'm Sarah Wilson, the son in grade 11.
My pronouns are she, her, and he's in grade 5 of the non-final class.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm Asuna. I'm in grade 8.
Hi, sorry for joining late. My name is Maggie Hannon. I'm the product vice principal here at Oakridge.
So Maggie, if I can ask you just to click through the slide when I say advance, that would be great. And this is the same presentation presented about a month ago, a little bit more than a month ago, to online across Thames Valley. And now we're just presenting from a Oakridge perspective, how it impacts the Oakridge area and families within the Oakridge area. So an existing layout, I know this is very small, this is online. Just to give perspective, there's existing attendance areas. The one exception that I want you to know about is B. Davison Secondary School, which does not have traditional attendance areas. considered in this review, and it was determined the school was not required for the grade 9 to 12 programming, given the enrollment growth in the secondary panel, and is considered in other areas of the city, and there is an adequate pupil space in the areas in other areas of the city, and there is adequate pupil spaces in the area surrounding B. Davison secondary schools. So if we can advance slides. Yeah, that's great. Okay. The board contracted a company to do an analysis of pupil distribution across all of the London attendance areas. So these are existing schools in London, including Lord Dorchester, just outside of London, and Montcalm, just north of the city. Next slide, please. There was analysis done of where students are currently attending in their home school. Oakridge Secondary School is listed here on the slide. An analysis was done showing our current student population and where those students come from. So you'll notice that Oakridge's current population does come from elementary schools that feed into other secondary schools across Thames Valley. So it was just a baseline analysis of student populations in school. This slide was shared to compare Beale Central and Oakridge Secondary School. Slide, please. These existing boundaries, we're talking about Westminster and Central and don't apply to Oakridge. Next slide. Existing feeder schools at Oakridge are here in this column, and I apologize, but I'll read them to you. Our three existing feeder schools right now are Riverside Secondary School, that is about less than a kilometer south of us in the Oakridge area. Just north of us is Clara Brenton Secondary School across Oxford Street, and on Sanatorium Road is John Dearness Public School. Those are our three current feeder schools. So the objectives of the attendance area review is to return majority of students to their home boundaries. Number two, eliminate feeder school splits and boundaries. Number two does apply to Clara Brenton Secondary School, and I'll speak more to that in a little while. Well, I'll speak to it now. Clara Brenton Secondary School, our public school, is currently divided. Its catchment area is divided where the very tip of their boundaries are actually families living in the Banting Secondary School boundary. And then the majority of their catchment area, those students are in Oakridge's area. So this is to fix, the attendance area review is to fix these situations where elementary schools have split boundaries between other schools. To just give you a little bit of outside the Oakridge area, another example of that is in the north part of London with Jack Chambers Secondary School. Its catchment area is, I keep saying secondary school, public school, is split between Medway High School and Lucas Secondary School. The attendance area review is to fix some of these feeder school splits, retain technology emphasis programs at existing sites. So these stay the same. Students that currently live in the Oakridge area, if they would like to engage in technology studies, they have access to busing to their closest tech emphasis school. Their closest tech emphasis school is Saunders Secondary School. Oakridge Secondary School has communications technology and design technology as options to students, but we do not have the facilities to offer automotive, construction, manufacturing, horticulture, aesthetics, any of those other types of technologies that would be offered at a tech emphasis school or could be offered at a tech emphasis school. Retain existing 2 French immersion sites, adjust boundaries to redistribute students across 3 sites. You'll see in the 2 options in a few slides, there's 2 options that are being presented to you as public, and in those 2 options, there's a redistribution from 2 French immersion sites to a 3rd French immersion site that would be at Clark Road Secondary School. Students attending from outside London or jurisdictions, or any change you can move. Just jurisdiction remains status quo. This attendance area review happens to existing London schools, and it is not affecting our secondary and elementary schools outside of the Greater London area. Dorchester and Montcalm or Medway are included within the London area. And future adjustments to boundaries as required. Okay, so those are the 6 main objectives of the attendance area review. Next slide. Hi, folks.
How you doing?
Welcome.
Sorry about that. We kind of looking around and,
It's okay.
couldn't find.
Have a seat. Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next slide. Our existing French immersion distribution is split into 2 locations, Laurier Secondary School and Banting Secondary School. That's so the proposed French immersion would then split the Greater London area into 3 parts.
Shouldn't you have a meeting here for you send us the email?
This is a meeting about the London attendance area review and the impact on the Oakridge.
That was supposed to be live.
Yes, it was. We had to relocate here. Sorry.
Oh,
So you're in the right spot.
okay.
That's right. Our carpets are being cleaned in the library, so we relocated up here. Thanks for joining us. This doesn't necessarily impact Oakridge area significantly. So the French immersion feeder schools would then be listed here with the proposed options. Next slide, because it doesn't apply. So there are 2 scenarios, and both scenarios impact Oakridge in the exact same way. So we'll move through the slides pretty quick because in our case here at Oakridge, it's the same impact. That being said, if you have concerns or comments about the greater information across the London, you're welcome to take that information at this meeting. And if you have questions that we cannot answer, we'll take those questions and we'll ask at a system level for responses, and we'll share those responses back, and we'll figure out a way to do that, whether it's an email to you all or posting on our Oakridge website responses to your questions. So in both scenarios, Oakridge Secondary School listed here remains with 3 feeders, the 3 same feeder schools, Riverside, Clara Brenton, and John Dearness, and gains a new feeder school that is in West London. That site has not been purchased yet. It would be in the River Bend greater area. And that, like I said, the land has not been purchased yet, which would, next slide, create a bound that's for Central Secondary School. So we can flip past that. Actually, go back 1 slide, please. The redistribution has effects on every secondary school. Here, adding an elementary school into the mix, our current population almost the same. If we're looking at OTG, which is the on-the-ground number, the capacity of the building, well, our school can basically hold around 1,000 students. And what we do each year is we support all of our in-area families to come to Oakridge. We then do an application into our Thames Valley's International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. And if there's leftover space, we allow out-of-area applications to attend Oakridge. That's our existing practice. In the last 5 years, 3 of those 5 years have resulted in an out-of-area lottery required, where there is not enough space for the amount of applications coming into Oakridge. This year, we had a lottery and then a wait list, and we were able to go through the whole wait list and offer a position at our school for everyone on the wait list. Do you have questions on that?
Yeah, could you share like the number of came to go school from the catchment area versus the new spaces that you're allotted to the lottery and stuff?
Yeah, if we go back a bunch of slides, I could talk to that actually. Flip back to one of the very first slides. Right here, attending Oakridge, we have 64% of our students that attend within area. So 36% that attend from other sectors. That was in 2021. So it that's a couple of years old, but I would say that number has increased a little bit. We had some larger grades and larger classes and some more classes coming from our feeder schools, especially Clara Brenton with the new building that has happened in the Clara Brenton area. It's gained 1 or 2 classes. But that's ballpark, yeah. Thanks. So here we remain, the expectation is with this new feeder school that is out in the west of London, that our capacity, our population remains about equal, but you would see that the out of area applications would not be occurring once this new feeder school happens and once this attendance area review comes into effect. Yeah, sir.
So that new feeder school, it's not, you don't have to site yet, so that's probably like the next 3, 4, 5 years.
You're right. Yeah, a school takes anywhere from 18 months to 2 years to build once ground is broke. The case study to the ministry to approve a new building being created takes time, and then the identification of land also takes time. So your fastest it could be done would be 2 to 3 years. But in the meantime, what would happen is those families, it could be determined that those families living in that area at that time, that catchment area, are bused into Oakridge as in area. That would be determined by senior admin, your input, and the trustees that finally vote on it. And they would determine that what would happen with those families in that area until that school is built. Did that answer your question, sir?
Yeah.
Next slide. The second scenario is the exact same for the Oakridge area. You'll see down here, Oakridge having the 4 feeder schools, the same feeder schools as scenario 1. Next slide. Central Secondary School, we can flip past that one. We look at utilizations and you can see that in 21, the capacity of the school is really just over 900. We were at 106% projected in 24, 26 or 25. And then by 28, 29, the projection would be 111%. And that's currently what we're at about now. Just around 1,000 students is over capacity, at capacity, and we can function here. We have 1 portable. When you see portables on site, it's evidence that school, and if it's being used, and ours is used every period of the day, it's an indicator that you are above your OTG, typically your capacity, and that's why there's a portable on site being used. So we redraw maps here and we create this Oakridge area that extends out into the Riverbend area and would encapsulate the area that new feeder school would be built. This would create something new for Oakridge as well, which would be busing. Currently, right now, the busing that comes to Oakridge is based on our special education classes only. None of our students are bused. They all live within the distance that's allocated within board policies and procedures about not requiring a bus. We would anticipate, we would know that families living in that new elementary feeder school area would require busing in Oakridge, and the very tip northern part of Clara Brenton, some of those families may be living outside of that distance and requiring busing as well. So I'm happy to be in conversations with facility services about a possible redesign of our an upgrade to our parking facilities, and that redesign will include planning ahead for buses to come to Oakridge, if in the future buses are coming to Oakridge. Next slide, thanks. This is a comparison of the two scenarios and what would happen in secondary schools in the two scenarios. In our case, they're the exact same outcome. So if we read across at Oakridge, our status quo is just around 1,000. It dips a little bit in one scenario and in the other scenario, but it still is above the OTG of 908 being a capacity of the building. This redistribution across all of the of London area allows there to be schools that are better balanced. The argument is that it better balances population into all schools across London area, where we don't have huge capacity issues at some schools and other schools that are under capacity. A new secondary school down the road, if there's a redistribution and if the Ministry of Education approves a case study down the road, there would be a new secondary school built in the northwest part of London in this this area. As I said, in the northwest.
What area is that?
The northwest part of London, so Hyde Park North area. Hard to see on that.
Those pictures are northeast as well. This is new northeast.
It's redrawing that whole boundary. Yeah, I don't know the exact details. That would be a question that we could take in and get information for you about what that boundary would be.
That plots all areas.
Next one. Next slide. Yep, next slide. Sure.
Hyde Park and Pension, Hyde Park and Pension. That's that.
So just a quick overview of the timeline. We're having our meetings that are required here in March and April. This might be our only meeting, or if there is a need for more or more public consultation, we have time to do that. Eventually, the questions, the feedback that we receive from you is put into a report. That report is sent to the system level. Every subcommittee submits their report. That report, all of those reports then are sent to the trustees with a proposal from senior admin. And the trustees also hold public delegation meetings in June. And eventually the schedule shows a decision being made by the Board of Trustees June of 2023 at the end of the school year. And yeah, I think that's everything. I'm just going to check my notes really quick. While I'm checking my notes really quick to make sure that I covered everything that I wanted to cover, we'll do an instructional strategy called Think, Pair, Share. So I presented a bunch of information and you've done a fantastic job of listening to me for about 20 minutes. You can talk about it with an elbow partner, maybe have some questions or comments that you generate with your elbow partner, and then I'll turn it back to the chair of the meeting, okay? So we'll give you 2 minutes to have conversations with your elbow partner. If you're at home, you can chat with someone with or take some notes, and we'll be monitoring the chat soon.
And I wanted to mention, if you're online joining us, can you please put your email address in the chat so we can take that information and also share with you any of the results of the meeting. If anybody wants to see the copy of that presentation, couldn't see it, I have a hard copy here. You can just pass it.
And there's another one here if anyone wants.
The difference is.
No, I did that. I did tell that.
Very minimal. Then I would say, feedback.
Has that been nice?
For sure. Just that, have a piece about it. I would say chat. Chat is split. But there's all. Because they have a consultant, they spent the money on that, already broken the area, they gave us, I mean, our changes are now.
It's the plan that it would be an abrupt change in 2024.
That was asked. I was asked. And the answer, if I look correct, was that at a certain point, they have to stop. Yeah. I know, I might have also, I have my son here in grade 9. My other son is also grade 7. My wife is together.
Things that started in 2024 and before, finish out. And then anybody after 2024 started.
Yeah, because I.
This is exactly why we need to.
Because we can basically grandfather the kids who are.
It makes sense to me, honestly, that makes sense to me, like, it was a call. A lot of. No matter what they do, yes, or, I think it's that. No matter what we're gonna do, that's why this is, okay, we're gonna do last.
So I'm not sure I agree. Because if you allow the kids to finish in the school they started,
Yeah.
nobody's upset.
Well, no, but it depends if you have.
Folks, I think well, I hear some great conversations happening. So what I'll do is,
But like you say, there's always going to be
Yes.
someone on it.
so at this time, thank you for having some side conversations. And at this time, I'll turn the meeting back over to the chair. Following the agenda, there's a question and answer period, and then we'll record feedback. Any additional information or requirements or requests we'll take, and then we'll ascertain whether individuals are interested in the future school level meeting. So
It's a question and answer, period right now. If you have any questions, just let us know. We'll take it down. I want to say we might not know all the answers, to the questions, so that's part of what we're doing today, is trying to collect those, and try to find answers and then share them. So I'm gonna be able to answer all the questions. I set up on the online meeting. And then I went through the document. I hope I can answer them, but if I don't, I'll make sure we get back to you. Go ahead.
When it comes to current out of area families, what is sort of the when it comes to this decision making of going back to their school? So they've already spent a majority of their years here at Oakridge. Will they finish here? What will happen that way?
I could give you and please raise your hand, and
Yeah.
they can see that, and you can navigate to the question screen.
For sure.
So navigate. Thanks for that question. Current out of area students would continue under this plan, and having heard a little bit of side chat, if a younger sibling is out of area and interested in coming once this decision has been made, the current proposal is a hard line that they would attend their designated home secondary school. That's the current proposal to families.
And what about those kids that, sorry.
And what we'll do is we'll have one question and a follow-up, if I may.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then we'll go to other questions. And Mrs. Hannon, Maggie has some questions online that she'll raise her hand and ask the questions from the chat. So if you're at home, either put up your hand and you can turn on a mic or put your question in the chat. And Mrs. Hannon is monitoring that. So your follow-up
Yeah,
question?
sorry, it's just that if they are sort of at that cusp age, like what if they want to do a victory lap, so to speak, if they're graduating for year grade 12 and they're gonna come back for 13,
If
still stay here?
current out-of-area students are honored to stay through their school year.
So even if they victory lap, they can stay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, our son attends Renton, and I'm a little bit unsure because we live, your range, and that's near off the Beaver Brook, so on the other side of the tracks.
Or in that north quadrant, you said we can change it.
So I don't know, because it's a Peter school, we had asked his full and guidance counselor from Renton earlier in the year, just making sure that he would be able to go over. She said, yes, I'm not sure.
What grade is
He's
your?
in grade 8.
So our current practice will continue until this is approved. Our current practice is any student that's attending Clara Brenton is considered in area for registration, but not considered in area for transportation until,
It's fine.
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify that he's able to go and come here for grade 9, continue to go to Oakridge and finish it.
yes.
Yes.
Question from,
I'll ask a question from the chat. Take me seconds, let's roll back. Says, hi, my name is Linda. My son is new to Oakridge this year and is in grade 10 in one of your special needs classes. So in particular, I'm interested in how these options impact the special needs program at Oakridge.
these options do not impact our special education classrooms at Oakridge. Currently, Oakridge has 5 special education classrooms. Those are system placements. Those happen separate from attendance area reviews. So the students currently in those classes will not be impacted, and future system placements will not be impacted by the attendance area review. The placements for those students go to our special education department at a system level, and then they're offered placements and provided tours at secondary schools.
Todd Morris. Todd, do you want to turn on your mic and ask a question?
Sure, I'd be happy to ask a question. First, thanks for the transparency and the opportunity to speak as a parent. My daughter is going to Medway and my son's at Jack Chambers. And I guess my first question was, why was I invited to this particular meeting for this secondary school? But the second more important question, I think, is a lot of parents are trying to get an understanding. I hear it in the room when they have one child that's currently attending a secondary school, and then a follow-on child that's usually 3-4 years behind that other child. If I understood what was said earlier, that if, for example, my daughter completes her high school before my son is now going into that high school, or we hit the 2025, he won't be going to Medway with all of his friends, or he won't be able to follow on with his daughter's legacy of going to Medway. There's potentially this new school that would go up in the North District. I mean, there's a lot of information and a lot of files online, but a lot of parents are having trouble making sense of it. I'm sorry, there's a couple questions. That the first one is the invitation policy, if it's going to specific parents and why, and then the follow-on question about when you have 2 kids.
Thanks, Scott. So to answer your first question, we're, I believe, the first subcommittee attendance area review meeting to happen.
Okay.
Subsequent ones happening, and you will, I believe, as an elementary parent, you will be invited to.
I started receiving emails. I got the Westminster Secondary School email coming through. So you're gonna see more and more invitation coming through. You just have to make sure you're attending the school that you are interested in or your son or daughter is going to.
And I would just add to that, the reason why I believe is to be transparent and inclusive and to invite all families to the subcommittee meetings so they know when they are. And they can then choose which ones they want to attend and which ones are important to them. And I have received one phone call from one parent with the same type of concern of that it wasn't explicitly stated like that. So they felt very confused. And so I apologize, Scott, if this wasn't time well spent for you. But I think it's in an act of inclusion to share all of the possibilities with their families. In case they were to move across London, they may want to know what's happening on the other side of London and when those meetings are. So that's
No, I appreciate it. And my name's Stephen, by the way. No, it's important for us to understand the process, and I'm going to represent one of the committees, I believe, for Medway. So I think, like another person mentioning, it's good to get the feedback. I'll return my time to other people who are more likely to be attending your secondary school, but I've heard really good things, and I think it's helpful for all of us. It's just, as parents, you get really emotionally attached to the process of your kids, whether it's, secondary to university or, post-secondary to beyond. So thank you so much.
No problem, Stephen. I'm sorry I got your name wrong. And well, I want to answer your second question too. The second part of this question is that the proposal is right now that there is a hard date where students that are younger siblings would then go to the new designated home secondary school following whatever decisions being made. And I understand that some parents may have a concern with that, and that might be brought up in the next section where we're taking recommendations from the audience or from parents. Thanks, Stephen.
Appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions in the room?
No. Yeah, well, happy to take any questions.
There's not any in the room. I'll take another one.
Sure, yeah.
I have Dina, a parent of a grade 6 student at Byron Somerset, and looking for information on what elementary schools can feed into Oakridge.
So we, Mr. Phillips went through the table. We can share that along with the information from this meeting. There's 4 schools attending on that table. I don't remember all the names.
That's Claire Brenton, Riverside Public School, John Dearness Public School, and a new elementary school to be built in the west end of London. For lack of a better term, the greater Riverbend area, but don't quote me on Riverbend. I don't know exactly what Riverbend area means, but out that way.
Okay.
The current students from the Riverbend area that's in Oakridge, or that's being also.
No, the current students in the Riverbend area do not attend Oakridge as in-area students. 36% of our students come from other areas. We could flip back to that slide and see where they come from. But just anecdotally, a lot of our students are from out of area either attend from all over London and outside of London for our IB program. They're not considered out of area because they've applied into the IB program and committed to doing the IB program for 4 years. If they decide not to continue with the IB program as an out of area student, they're supported to then transfer to their designated home school. It's not a way for students, families to backdoor into Oakridge and then leave the program but stay at the school. That's not possible if you're out of area. And then our other out of area families, from our experience, and I think that if we go back to that one chart, you would see Eagle Heights area. A lot of families are interested in coming from Eagle Heights out of area to Oakridge. Byron, traditionally, a lot of families in Byron, and the Riverbend area is also another third pocket of out of area families that are interested in the Oakridge area. Currently, those Riverbend folks, if they're going to a public school, I believe they're bused into Byron Northview area.
We do have two hands.
Yes, so Kevin Gordon, you have your hand up. Would you like to turn on your microphone to ask a question?
Thank you so much, and thanks to all the work that's gone into preparing for tonight from everybody. One question and then one comment, if I may. The question, and it has largely been addressed, I think, but for clarity, there is currently no new West London school that has been accepted by the ministry from our proposals. But my understanding from all that's been shared is that regardless of that fact, anybody who would be in that new catchment area would be attending Oakridge as of September 2024, despite the fact there may or may not be an actual elementary school on the books at that point. So I'm just looking for the clarity from possibly the planning team above those in the meeting tonight, just around that point.
I would say if approved by the trustee. Right? So right now, this is just the proposal, and it's gotta go through the motion of collecting feedback from parents and the community, and then it goes up for decision. And if approved by June, end of June, I believe, it becomes effective as of September of 2024. So we have some time for the process to take place. Does that answer your question?
It does in part, yes. So thank you for that. I'll keep tabs on things as they go. The other comment I just wanted to make, because I'm not sure if those in the room can see the chat, I added a link to the chat that I found particularly helpful that the board has put out, where it is basically a street map with a sliding rule that allows you to see the current versus proposed boundary shifts at the street level. I saw a lot of comments in the chat coming in about that. And so that for those who don't have access to the chat feature while attending in person, there is a useful tool through the LAAR website that might help for some of the questions around where the divides are for all of the London area review. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. And just one suggestion, when we get to the next part of the agenda, you may want to submit your idea for a recommendation around your first question about the West London School that we'll collect, and we'll take those recommendations and put them in the report.
So it looks like Todd Morris, you have your hand up. You also have a question in the chat. I'm not sure if you're able to come on the microphone, or I can read your question from the chat.
Yes, please read from the chat.
Please ask me to be.
Oh, from the chat. Okay. The question I have for Oakridge is we are in the Red Tail Trail near Sarnia and Hyde Park. My kids both go to Clare Brenton. Number one, my son applied already to Oakridge. Will he be affected now or in future years by this? And number two, my daughter is in grade 6. Will she be impacted? And any considerations if their siblings already attend Oakridge?
I believe the Clara Brenton is a feeder for Oakridge, so that is not changing. They will be able to attend the school as far as we know right now.
It's the same.
Even though my address, Banting is close.
Yep. It's our current practice, and then it'll just be cleaned up with this attendance area review. So what we've seen in the past is with that split boundary, there's a huge concern from families that their kids go with their friends all the way from kindergarten to grade 8, but then you're living in the Banting area and there's this split of friendships, and having, like, that's not a great thing. We understand that social emotional well-being of students is the utmost important. And so past practice the last 2 years has been that we honor all Clara Brenton students as in area for registration, but not for transportation if they're outside the transportation area. So this might be the same thing where they're living in a, and everyone can go onto the Thames Valley website and in their search engine at the very top, type in find my school, and you'll get to their
Interactive map.
thanks, and you can put in your address and it'll tell you what schools currently you're slotted to go to, both public school and secondary school, and your tech embassy school and your French immersion school. So you can see that information. But it's the exact same answer we had earlier tonight. If you're currently considered in area Clare Brenton, then you're considered in area Oakridge for registration. And future Clare Brenton students, all of them, it would be cleaned up and that whole area would come to Oakridge. So we don't run into this boundary scenario that's not good for kids. Hope that answered
Sorry,
Lisa's question or
yeah, my back,
Sorry.
last question.
Todd's question. Was there a second part of that?
That you've answered it.
Okay.
Lisa has a question.
Yeah, Lisa's question is they'd like to understand if current Saunders students being switched over to Oakridge would be able to select courses for fall 2024 in the January 2024 when you do course selections before timetabling, like students who are already at Oakridge are allowed to normally do when they get their course options. When would families be told the ultimate decisions about things?
With the current timeline, can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know. I don't think this is.
Okay, so the current timelines, the trustees, the current timelines are that the trustees will have public input at a board meeting and then make a decision by the end of June. That was the current timetable or time schedule. And if or whatever decision is made moving forward, if the proposed timeline would be for September 2024 to be the start, which would mean back in January of 2024, students will be selecting courses at their designated home schools, their new designated home schools, whatever decisions made. So it would be effective for September 2024, but the process would start with an even fair selection of courses back in January, February of 2024. If you have had grade 8 students in your life, you understand that their lead guidance counselors and their grade 8 teachers and their admin are supporting them for making course selections starting in January and February. And almost all secondary schools typically visit either virtually or in person, go to the feeder schools, and our guidance counselors go and share all that information ahead of time, so that everyone would be on a fair selection of courses at the exact same time.
Questions from?
I get that question.
I do, it's about me, but the question that I have is like, why was this course lesson maybe not started earlier? Question one, I guess, and if for students who are maybe say currently at Oakridge, but their home school maybe outbound in the district, with Oakridge perhaps based on current enrollment or future enrollment. I guess, I know the word's not grandfather, I think it's legacy, but allow those siblings to attend if there's space available.
Our current practice, I can speak to, out of area students are aware when they apply out of area that there is no legacy agreement. That if an older sibling attends out of area, that does not guarantee a younger sibling. And so families are aware of that through the lottery process and through applying out of area. In this process, as we flip over, the proposal on the table is that there are no legacy agreements, that it is a fast changeover, and families, if they had an older or younger sibling or multiple siblings, they could end up going to different secondary schools. We'll get to the recommendation. When we get through all the questions, we'll get to the recommendations, and you might want to rephrase that as a recommendation, and we can record that, and that could go to senior admin and trustees.
Question from the chat. We have a parent of a 5th grade student, lives in the Masonville area and are interested in intending to going to Oakridge.
Thank you.
I have someone in the chat looking to see where they can get a copy of the presentation that you shared.
This presentation recording and the presentation I was reading from and the PowerPoint presentation will all be on the London Attendance Area Review webpage on the Thames Valley website. If you go to the Thames Valley website, tvdsb.ca, and search for LAAR in the top right search bar, you'll find all the schools listed. You'll find this presentation that we shared, and you'll find this recording for this meeting.
Just with the changes that will be made, there will be no further opportunity for granting lottery going forward. Is that correct? Once the final decision is done, that's the end of that.
Once the final decision's done, there is no out of area applications. The idea will be that schools are more adequately populated and more evenly populated across London. And then the next step, the ultimate goal would be a case study to the Ministry of Education requesting approval for a new secondary school to be built, most likely in the northwest end of London. And these are necessary steps to have that. And I believe the last secondary school that was built in London, Thames Valley School, secondary school that was built in London was Saunders Secondary School, which was built a long time ago.
Yes, so moving forward, keeping the attendance status quo, if the lottery and, you know, what is it, 36% of the students who are coming from out of area. I don't know what the advantages to Oakridge are in hosting out of area students, but if we're not going to anymore, would potentially funding be removed in some capacity? Not I don't know what the advantages are. So would programming change?
No, programming is based on student requests. So programming is always going to shift and change over years at secondary schools based on the needs of the students that are coming to that school. The programming will not change at the school because they are predicting that we're not going to be letting in out of area students, but we are going to be letting in students from the Riverbend area in an elementary school, and that will basically maintain Oakridge to be the same capacity. And that is slightly above capacity of the building. Did I answer your question?
Yep.
And funding is based on the number of students in your building and the course requests in your buildings. The Ministry of Education provides Thames Valley with a budget based on a bunch of things, but I won't go into details about the financial aspects of that, but it's bottom line, it's based on the number of students in your building, and we anticipate the contracted company anticipates the Oakridge population to maintain approximately around 1,000, give or take.
So it's not the demographics of the students who are coming, it's just the number.
Yeah, it's the number and the facilities. I'll tell you that certain subject areas require more money based on lower class sizes. So therefore more teachers, and some of those lower class sizes require more consumables. So for example, we do not have construction technology, automotive technology. It takes a larger budget to run those programs at Oakridge. And Oakridge was built 63 plus years ago and was never built with those facilities. There isn't a plan in place to add any of those facilities to the Oakridge. Hence, I mentioned the tech emphasis schools and the options for families growing up in the Oakridge catchment that have students interested in those courses. They have an opportunity for school transportation buses to go to get those courses at Saunders. It's the tech emphasis. This catchment area. Great question.
How about, I do have a follow-up on that.
Sure.
How about IB program students out of the area?
Our IB program will continue to have the exact same expectations. out of area families for IB apply in knowing that there is no transportation. And I'll be completely transparent. Our co-terminus board, the Catholics board, has an IB program at CCH downtown that offers transportation. We offer a grade 8 information night that we encourage grade 7 and 8 parents to come to, and sometimes there's even grade 6 families showing up to learn more about it. And there is no expectation of that changing. And the same application process will continue at Oakridge. So we'll guarantee all in-area families, including our new feeder school out west when it's built, and that catchment area, and how that is determined. I think Ibrahim explained that'll be up to 10 trustees and senior admin to determine the timeline of how that new building is going to be built over a certain amount of years, and when that area will be considered in area for Oakridge. My understanding is it's the idea right now, the proposal is September 2024, but there won't be a building built then. But the IB program will be the same process will be used to accept IB students into Oakridge. Oh, and then Mrs. Hannon has many years experience with IB. She's the IB expert in the room right now. But the other little tidbit that we'll share is an IB program is awarded to the school, not to a board. So if ever the IB program were to move to another school, that school would have to go through the process of applying to be a World IB school, and that can take probably about 2 years, like fast. Maybe 18 months, you go really fast.
Really fast. I have 2 questions in the chat. They're almost the exact same questions, so I'll summarize it from Tatiana and Lisa. A son in the Saunders area, according to their address, but was accepted to Oakridge this year. Will they be able to stay at Oakridge, or do they have to return to Saunders? So basically the question is saying, is there a legacy for students who are already here at Oakridge attending? Will they have to move in 2024?
We've answered this question at the very beginning, but just to reiterate, current out of area students will be honored here. There'll be a legacy agreement for them to finish off their secondary school career at their existing school. But their younger siblings would be expected to go to their designated home school, whatever that school is. I saw a hand up here in the room.
Thank you.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't see you behind. I also have Lisa here asking for more information about the idea of giving secondary school students a free city bus pass versus taking a traditional school bus. Which students would be affected by this idea?
Great question, Lisa. That is outside the scope of the London Attendance Area Review. So what I would suggest to you is you reach out to your trustees and seek more information about that from your school trustees. Not a part of this meeting or the scope of the London Attendance Area Review.
I think that's the end of the questions. I just have some recommendations in there.
Any more questions?
Just one more question. This was actually, starting 2024, implement trades at the school. And that was something that
The most recent CBC report that I read about trades was that the Ministry of Education is considering or starting to implement, but we have no information about this. I'm just reading as a private citizen, a CBC article, that grade 11 students will be supported to move into apprenticeships, having not graduated high school yet. No idea on how that would be implemented. I actually asked that same question at a meeting I was at today, and that was the response I got. Is that what you were? Is that?
I heard that it was coming, but I don't know the plan for it, because Oakridge may not be able to accommodate that. That means the students would then have to go to Saunders to take a trade course class, and then
I think you're talking about the article where it was going to be like a compulsory course.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a separate CBC article that there was a consideration by the ministry to make tech required one of the 18 or not now 19 compulsory credits. But again, we don't have information on that either.
So I would just answer that from an Oakridge perspective. We do offer technologies. We offer a grade 9 introductory tech course. And it's mostly, we have a small woodworking lab and then 2 computer labs that run communication technology. So that's editing, video and photos. And then design technology, which is the basics of architecture and engineering and using AutoCAD and Google SketchUp. So we offer our technology classes here are grade 9 and then grade 10, 11, and 12 communication technology and grade 10, 11, and 12 design technology. And then we also run a yearbook course that is a technology course where students in that class design the yearbook in first semester and then finish it off in second semester. So that the students here at Oakridge would have choice of those technology courses to fulfill that compulsory credit if it does become a 1 compulsory credit. To graduate, to go outside the scope of this really quickly, because I'm an education nerd, to graduate secondary school, you need 18 compulsory credits and 12 elective credits, so 30 total. And that is suggesting there'll be 19 compulsory and 11 elective credits.
Lisa has requested that we just go back and clarify for a question. You've answered the legacy question, but it says, could a grade 12 student choose to stay at their current school or be given the option to go to, like, so let's say they're a Saunders student, but they live in Oakridge, they live in Oakridge's area, or vice versa. Could they make the switch in grade 12? Is that's, I think if I'm reading that right.
They're finishing their grade 9 to 12, and that change happened in the middle. They are grandfathered into the original school until they finish.
And her question is saying, could they opt to go to their new school? And that question is not in the proposal. And I would suggest Lisa state that as a recommendation, and we'll catch that as a recommendation, and that can go to senior admin and the trustees. I don't have that answer.
I think that's about the question.
Yeah, that's the question. So there's a few
We want to give
recommendations
some
here.
time for
Yeah.
feedback, so.
Sure.
If a question pop up later on, we can try to answer as much as we can, but we do want to keep up on the time. So now we're going into item 4 of the agenda, which is a feedback regarding the options. And this is where we'll be taking your input. If you have a recommendation, we will note that, put it in a report that's going to go to the school trustees and the senior management, and then we'll go, that hopefully will put a case forward. So if you're online, joining us, if you had made a statement or a question and we suggested that you put it as a recommendation, could you please rephrase it as a recommendation so that we can capture it from all the list of chat that we have on this meeting?
Gordon, you have your hand up. Go ahead and turn on your mic.
Thank you. Just wondering, would it be okay to simply type a long-winded recommendation and clarifying question in the chat for cut and paste ease?
Yes, we can capture that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I have a recommendation or thing to consider from Lisa in the chat. Wondering if the board is aware that the city is considering widening Oxford Street West from West Elborn to Sanatorium, beginning at West Elborn and moving that direction, may affect plans for busing from the River Bend area as they widen Oxford Street. Just saying, take that into consideration. I believe that change is supposed to happen in 2031.
As well, Maggie is searching through for other recommendations. There were some good questions here in the room that were, you might want to rephrase as a recommendation. We'll capture all the questions through the video, and Becky's been typing away, taking notes as the secretary for the meeting. Thank you, Becky. But are there any recommendations from in the room?
I'd be fine with my question and recommendation would be that for families that have children currently going to Oakridge, for example, and your children are in elementary school, could they be perhaps legacy? Grandfather to be able to go to Oakridge if there's space available. Case by case basis. That's it.
So your recommending a legacy type of clause that allows younger siblings to attend the same secondary school as their older siblings.
If space is available.
Did you say if space is available?
Another recommendation here is for busing from the northern part of Clare Brenton. Because it would be too far for their students to walk, like that part of Clare Brenton's boundary that's changing from Banting to Oakridge, not walkable.
We can capture that recommendation, but if it was rephrased as a question, I could answer and provide some context. If there is a policy and procedure around transportation, school bus transportation on the board's website, and families can go look at that and see the distance from schools that qualify them for school busing provided by secondary schools or elementary schools. So the London attendance area review will not be affecting that policy and procedure, so you can then determine the distance or be contacting our transportation department and find out more information about whether you would qualify for busing or not, depending on your distance. So there's, quite frankly, you could live on one side of the road and receive transportation and live on the other side of a road and not receive transportation. It's a distance cutoff and Oakridge hasn't had to worry about that up until in the future as we extend the Clare Brenton area to come here as officially in area, and then also our Riverbend families will be outside that distance. And I'm not going to quote that distance or quote any lines on the road. That would be up to families to inquire about that. And there wouldn't be any answers right now this early in the process. Those would come much closer to September 2024. Can you read back the feedback from
Kevin?
Kevin?
It says the London area review documents reference a new West London elementary school whose proposed boundaries appear to pull students from multiple elementary schools. At the present time, this new school does not exist. For clarity, our students currently in the attendance area for the proposed new West London elementary school to be redirected to Oakridge for September 2024, or that change from Saunders for most to Oakridge. Or would that change from Saunders for most to Oakridge only take place when the new proposed school opens? It is not clear from the document if the residents should follow their current elementary school path to secondary or the pathway of the proposed school that does not exist as of yet. The recommendation is that students currently residing in the proposed boundaries for the new West London Elementary School be redirected to Oakridge Secondary School for September 2024. The rationale is that this may already be the intention, but it's unclear that given the new school has not been approved at this time, taking this action at this time is part of the larger London area review and prevent a shift from happening 5 to 8 years from now when the new school opens.
Thanks for that, Kevin. Yeah, I second. Sure. You just have. Any other questions or recommendations?
We're not seeing any recommendations. We can go to the next section, the additional information requirements. We've got a couple of requirements in terms of, having the link to information, having access to the presentation, the recording of this. and the meeting minutes will be all posted. Is there anything else that is required by the parents and the attendance of the call?
There was several requests in the chat for the interactive map. That has been posted in the chat and we can include it in the minutes.
Just as a FYI, that this same meeting is being held at all different schools throughout the month of April. So I don't know, I received an email, I don't know if everyone did. So FYI.
Yeah. So every elementary parent received the emails for every secondary school, just to be all inclusive. An example I gave a little bit earlier, I think is a good example. If a family were to be moving from one part of London to the other, they would possibly want to know what's happening in both parts of London. So senior admin is being inclusive by sending out the invite to all elementary families to all of the secondary school subcommittee meetings.
And you'll get more of these emails. Just watch for them. Like I said, I started getting, I think Westminster was the second school to go out, and I'm sure the next weeks and days we'll see more of these invites. So, if there is no other information requirements from the parents and the attendees, I would go into the item number 6 on the agenda, which is looking into feedback, whether we need any future school meeting or online meeting to discuss further the proposed changes on this committee.
Just on this point, I'll just propose this, because there was some silence in the room as next steps. And this is just a recommendation through the chair and secretary that everything that happened in this meeting will be captured in the report through Becky's recording of notes and through the video. That the video will be shared, the minutes will be shared, all of that will be placed into a report. What I can do is put that report onto the Oakridge website in an easy spot to find. And we can, on your way out, record your email and your name. And then we could send out that report to you so that you can see the proposed report that encapsulates all of this meeting. As a proposal of not having another meeting, but sharing and being transparent with you of how it's been recorded. The report will be crafted by Ibrahim and Becky, not myself. They're the committee. I was here to answer questions as best I could or redirect them as recommendations and provide the information in an impartial way. So the recommendations do truly come from parents, through parents to senior admin and ultimately board of trustees.
Is it too late to make the recommendation?
No. I'm wondering if it makes sense to recommend that any effective, even now or soon in the next year or so, that future out of area applications be given preferential treatment to the Riverbend catchment area, the proposed catchment area, so that it's a smoother transition for those future families. I'm thinking. Because I'm just thinking as a parent, I know that if my one kid is coming here, I want all my other kids to also come here. And so starting that transition now, instead of just, I don't know how it goes, how the applications come in, if it's first come, first served. If it's my area, I'm not sure, but if it's in that catchment area, am I making sense? If it's in that catchment area first, capture everybody there and then go open it up to other people.
Thanks for that recommendation. And just to clarify, the 3 of the last 5 years when there's been a lottery, it's completely 100% a blind lottery that's done at the system level. where we provide a list of various families and they provide us a randomized number generator list. So we just follow that list. So just so you understand the process now.
Yeah.
There's no preferential treatment of any area or any situation. It's purely a lottery, like a, but your recommendation is captured. Sorry, that's more of a chair thing to say.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I would say too. So, we're looking for recommendation, and that's, you know, if anything is gonna change in this proposed changes, it's gonna come from parents.
First all word. Any concerns?
Does the room and the virtual room at home support my idea of once the draft proposal has been shared that are created, that we share it before submitting? So that if you have concerns of something that wasn't captured, that you can reach out to Ibrahim and Becky as the committee include. Or if for some reason a recommendation comes to you, you know, in the next couple of days and you're like, oh darn, I wish, you could always reach out and include that recommendation.
This would help, honestly, eliminate any need for a future meeting. So instead of us meeting again and you coming here, like Mr. Phillips said, we share the feedback, our report. You guys look at it. If we didn't capture something, we captured something wrong, we can always get that back, put it into the report before we submit it.
Makes sense.
Okay, so I'll get some blank paper and some pens. If you can just think, oh, we already did.
Way ahead of you.
Awesome. So at home audience, we're collecting names and emails in the room. If you haven't had a chance, please put your email and your name in the chat, so we can capture that and we'll create an email list. I'll share out the draft document once it's created by Becky and Ibrahim, and it'll also be posted on our Oakridge website before being sent to the senior admin to capture all secondary school subcommittee meetings. Or anything on the chat?
Nope, the last thing in the chat is the recommendation that came in from Kevin. There's some emails and there's emails coming in, but no other recommendations or feedback.
Well, I wanna close the meeting by saying thank you to everybody. Thank you for who showed up here today. I know it's a lot of information presented. It was overwhelming for me when I was attending the online meeting initially, but I had to go through it. I'm hoping we explain the proposed changes well. We capture all the questions and recommendations. We'll put those in the reports. Thanks for everybody that joined us online too. We appreciate the feedback. I do want to mention, thank you for hosting us here, as well as your feedback and the detailed presentation that you walked us through. And I want to thank you for taking the meeting minutes and the feedback so we can actually put the report together.
Round of applause for Becky and Ibrahim for being our. We adjourn.
Yep, this meeting is adjourned now. 8:22.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Maggie.
Just keep it
Keep
okay.
it open. Haven't copy and pasted all emails yet.
Oh, yeah, I'm just gonna, I'll let you start recording. I'm just gonna get that.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for reading. Thanks very much. Oh, you go. Looking for your previous language for your space here.
Chase it out, Mohammed.
Thanks so much for your time, guys. Really appreciate it.